Yeah,
that's Super Time Force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you ever play their...
I played it there.
Oh, yeah. Did you play Clash of Heroes?
Oh, gosh. Oh, yes.
Oh, that game's amazing.
That was a wonderful game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It was... Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of people didn't play it until it was free on Xbox. Like, my friends were like, it's $15.
Yeah.
And I was like...
A couple of my friends picked it up. I didn't actually buy it because it's not the kind of thing I remember, like, back in the day, right? I'm playing, Genesis and Saturn games, right? And they're all like, we're playing Heroes of Might and Magic, and I'm just like, this is the stupidest looking thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
How can you... And, like the artwork is so magic rainbow unicorn,
it's just bad.
It's not an awful game. I mean, my friends loved it, but from my perspective, it's like, this is...
See, that's what I had.
Awful.
That's what I had, is that same viewpoint of it.
But I'm like, no, Heroes of Might and Magic, I'm staying away from that. Some puzzle game, but it was so good.
Oh, yeah, I know. The Cappy guy was so excited. He was like, oh, you guys played it? That's awesome.
But then, and the thing I really liked about it is the pixel art is just unbelievable in that game. And then when they did the HD one for Xbox, I'm just like, this looks so bad. Like, why did they drop the pixels? This is like, okay,
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the backgrounds were lovely and the characters were well drawn and highly detailed and all that, but those they had to have worked their butts off for those pixels.
Yeah.
Whereas this looks normal, and it's like, if you can appreciate low def artwork, then it's like, that is so good. But if you can't, then I guess you'll settle for like this well made Flash style artwork.
It's really interesting. I never realized for a really long time how difficult it is to deal with low-res stuff. I was like, really? It just seems like it'd be so much easier than...
Yeah.
But everybody's like, oh, it takes freaking ever.
It depends on what you're doing, but the way they did it like, they were so small and so much detail, and like, if you look at them, like, there's so much animation and so much color going on in each character. It is like, this is not normal pixel art. That's when I was just looking at it, like, how did they do this? And like, you can actually see, like, they're like, they actually applied like 2 different colors that kind of look like this other color over here in order to make it look like a fine point thing.
Yeah.
Just to fade off all of these. It's really impressive.
It's painstaking.
And then you look at Super Time Force, and it's like, oh no, now they've gone for kind of the flatter colors, and it's like, okay, it looks great, but it's like, that's much easier.
Oh, well, I'm sure they learned their lesson. They're like,
forget that.
Yeah, exactly. We're never doing that again. Super Time Force was fun, though. I did enjoy that. It was crazy fun.
Yeah. I hope they release it. It was supposed to come out this year, wasn't it?
They said either the end of this year or early. Oh, well, they switched it. They moved it to the Xbox One.
As we knew they would.
Yeah, right. So that's why they're moving it out to, I think, March or something like that is what he was saying, he was thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Did you recently get the Wii U?
I did. That is the recently released Super Mario Bros. U with Super Luigi Not Brothers U pack. Which I was waiting for, because I'm like, well, I'm not going to pay $300 or whatever for this thing with the game I don't care about. And it's like, lower the price, Nintendo, and give me a game that I will actually play, and my money is all yours. And then they finally did something that I wanted. So
it's too bad. Did you go out on Black Friday and get any of that stuff? No, we went out.
Did you get a great deal?
I got
a black eye.
It was shockingly orderly. They were like letting in 30 people at a time in a line. There was no fighting. Although I didn't go to Walmart, I went to Target, so it wasn't as big. But they had the Zelda 3DS bundle there for $150.
Oh yeah, I heard the 3DS deals were really good.
I was like,
but we all already had 3DSs. So
oh yeah,
we're ahead of the game there.
I know, and my buddy was so mad because
they're doing like 2DSs for like $100 or something.
Yeah,
it's like,
it was crazy. There was like people that were like jammed against that stand waiting for the guy to come back out of the back.
Yeah,
because he's like,
can you imagine if the 2DS was $100 all the time?
Oh, it would sell like
Nintendo
crazy.
Would. If they could make money doing that, then they'd be making money hand over fist.
Well, the Wii U is so anemic right now. Mm-hmm. It's just crazy how bad it's doing. I was shocked when they were saying that what was it? That they barely sold more than like the Xbox and PS3 combined, and it's been out for a year.
That's its total sales, or that's what it did this holiday?
Or maybe it was this holiday. I can't remember. But
so it barely did better than both of them combined? Well, that's not too bad.
Well, I'm not sure if it was during the whole year versus this too. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
But last generation, they were like, 4 times the amount, like right off the bat. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's weird. Like I like it. I bought one. They have games on it that I want to play.
Yeah.
So that is a decisive factor.
I'm waiting until Smash Bros comes out for it. That's my my system buyer.
I actually wanted Pikmin 3. I'm a Pikmin player.
Yeah, that's.
But and it's like, oh, I'm like, I don't know if this will be that good. Will it be as good as the other ones? It's so good. Oh my gosh. But it's like. I see it. It's like the Dreamcast. Like, this is a great console for me.
Yeah.
Like but I'm looking at it like I can every decision they've done with it. Like, I mean, with the Wii, it was like, this is a great console for me and Grandma and everybody.
Yeah.
And then this one, well, this is a great console for me, but the way they presented Super Mario 3D World was like. I loved 3D Land on the 3DS.
Yeah,
so I'm like, well, just take my money.
Yeah.
I'm down for another round of this. But they did not show, like, early on. They're like, well, it looks more like a slightly stretched out, camera pulled back, 4-player version of that game that you already played. And I'm like, well, I'll do that. But then later on, they come out and, Bowser's driving around in a purple car and the music is swinging and crazy and they're flying off all these crazy platforms. And it's like... There's elements from Super Mario Brothers 2. There's dinosaurs everywhere, and it's like, oh, I want this. And everybody's looking at it now, and they want this. But it's like, you should have been out of the gate with that, Nintendo. You're crazy.
That's the biggest problem with Nintendo lately. They've been like, hey, we're going to release the 3DS, and then we're not going to release a good game for 6 months. Like, my buddy was so upset because they like delayed. Can't remember what, but he was like so excited to play it, and they delayed it like way back, and he was like, "Oh, why'd I buy this thing first day?"
Yeah.
And he was surprised that there wasn't that many people waiting in line for it when he went there. He was like, I was pretty shocked. There was no fanfare.
I kind of felt like I knew what they were doing the whole time. Like when they released it, it's like, oh, there's no games for it, and they've charged a ton of money for it. It's like, well, obviously they're going to wait until they have more games, and then they're going to lower the price, and it's going to be a reasonable purchase. And right now, they're just going to take as much money as they can from people who love to buy things right away.
Yeah.
And they're just... both parties are happy, right?
Yeah.
It should be fine. And then they're like, no, we're not happy. We need free games, you guys. How dare you lower the price on this thing that no one's ever dropped prices on a portable game console before.
Well, they did it.
They did it pretty quick.
And
but it was at the price they were asking for it in the first place. I thought, like, this is stupid. This is...
How much was it? Was it $279 originally?
Something like that.
I can't remember.
I don't even remember what I paid for it now after the first wave of price drops. And
yeah,
I'm like, well, there's and coincidentally, there's some games coming out that I want on this now.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, the 3DS XL, man, so much better than the 3DS. Like, I'm like,
don't remind me. Yeah, that's my wife's 3DS box over there.
Yeah,
she's got the XL, and I've got the little dinky.
Yeah,
thing.
Well, my buddy actually just sold his original 3. He was so jealous when I got the Zelda one. He was with me, and he's like, F it, I'm getting it. So he grabbed it, and he's like, I'm just going to sell my old one. And he sold the one that had the Ambassador games on it.
Oh, wow.
For, I think he said like $200 and some odd dollars. I was like, that's crazy. That's
wow.
More than you paid for the Zelda one. He's like, I know, dude. He's like, it was in that teal.
But that Ambassador thing became pretty valuable.
Yeah, apparently he said there's like a few games that never came out other than on the Ambassador program. So.
Yeah. Well, because Nintendo's all like, we're not going to do any GBA games on whatever.
Yeah.
Virtual console.
Which is disappointing.
Yeah, and I wanted one of them.
Which one did you want?
I wanted Wario Land 4.
Oh, yeah.
I've got it for Game Boy Advance, but it's like, I will pay Nintendo, $6 more or whatever. Because it's like, you get in this mindset, like, it's so stupid with all the remakes and the re-releases, but it's like, you
can't help yourself.
It's like, I can help myself a lot of the time. Like, I've still got my Game Boy Advance and my regular DS. I've got all these other ways to play Wario Land Advance if I want, and but mainly it's like, I feel like surely I'm voting for something if I buy this game again. Like, hey Nintendo, I really liked this game. I bought Wario Land Shake too.
That's how I always feel. I'm like, if I don't buy this game, like maybe they're just gonna like Mega Man. They canceled that, It's like.
Well, there's no accounting for that. It's not like people weren't buying Mega Man.
Apparently not enough. I don't know, man.
They bought enough Mega Man 9s to make a Mega Man 10.
Yeah.
That's...
Well, the dude who makes Mega Man's already making...
oh, yeah.
What the heck is that game?
Mighty Number 9.
Mighty Number 9.
Well, you were at PAX, you know.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's big at Mega Man, and he, like at the end of that day, he ran over to where I was, which was still in the booth, and he's all like... Look at this shirt! Look at this shirt that I'm wearing! You don't even know what happened! I'm like, what happened? And he's like, Kenji Inafune happened! It's like,
dude, I was so upset because...
That was the reveal from hell. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The good hell.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It was... So, my recording, because they were like, oh, you can't do video, but you can do audio. Mm-hmm. Unless you're a media person, and I didn't get media badges, so it was like, okay, we'll do audio. So, for some reason or another, the thing decided to corrupt the SD card, and I'm like, no! That and my Enemy Within reveal was both toast. I was like, oh man, that sucks. Oh. Alright, maybe we'll get into the seriousness.
Yeah,
huh?
We have some questions, maybe. Or specific topics of interest.
Well, really what I wanted to know, because all you guys are CW alum, how did you guys come together? Were you guys all friends beforehand?
So Daniel and I are, we went to high school together in Ellensburg, and he made he was making some kind of little platform engine thing, and his dad was working, I think he was playing piano, I think, for one of the churches there, and and he's a churchgoer himself. Mm-hmm. So he's like, let's there are no good Christian educational games. This is a statement that you can make. It's like, yes, they might be educational, and they are, but they're definitely not fun to play.
I was to say, I don't even think I've ever heard of a Bible game since the Super Nintendo. I think that's about.
So this was back in like '96 or '97.
Oh, okay.
We were in high school. I graduated in '98.
Oh, okay.
So I'm an old man.
Well, I graduated in '03, so I'm not that young.
Yeah. So we made a game. He was like, this is the pitch, and then he was like, who do you know in school who can draw? Get that guy. And so I sent, and I was like, oh, I have to do a little thing to prove myself. So I made like a little graphic of a background that they might use, and they're all like, oh wow, this looks really good. I mean, it didn't look that good, but I was a high school student, and we're looking for anyone who can draw kind of level, where standards aren't too high here. But I had made like my tiles, right? My repeating tiles, and they're all different sizes, and you have to fit. I didn't know anything, and Danny looked at that, and he's like, "Oh, this is good. And all we have to do is just change the size of everything. Yeah, we can do something like this." So they were sold on that.
That's cool.
And then we started working on it, and I did all the art for it, and it was just a platformer where you ran around answering Bible trivia, and
that's cool.
And it was, and like there was, it wasn't a great game, but there was a we got reviews from kids at like Christian conventions.
Oh, okay.
And the one on the website that was the best one it's like, this is actually a good game, skeptical 9-year-old.
That's awesome.
And they had trouble selling it to people there because adults would say it doesn't he's not learning anything. Why does he not want to stop playing this game? Kind of like he's actually having fun here. I don't think he's learning anything. And
there's no way he can learn.
I learned some things playing that game, so I figure little kids can learn something too. I don't know. It wasn't super educational, but the dad had put together like this big learning guide along with it. So cool. It was like a spiral bound, kind of an almost handmade thing. I love those. It was neat
types of books,
and and it's not a game that is really worth like going back and playing or anything. But it's like, oh well, this is a thing that we did. So he and I did that, and his dad made the music, which was all like MIDI-ified Bible themes. Is music that I'm not a
fan.
I'm always kind of like, oh, what do I say about this? Because I'm not a church person. I'm not religious at all. So I'm like, when I want to talk about this game, I'm like, well, how do I want to frame this? I'm still going here. Sorry. But it was pretty good. But I'm not like thrilled to have I'm not like in a big hurry to like say this was our first game. I'm so excited about it. Not just because it was not that great necessarily, but also kind of the subject material is not. It's not that there's anything wrong with that, and it's not that it's something that I'm embarrassed by, but it is kind of a thing where people go, I don't want to be like, oh, these guys made Christian games or whatever. It's like it's
You're
not
worried
a bad
it's
thing.
Alienate something.
It's not so much that, but it's like that's such an easy mark for people to make fun of, because people are jerks, and
especially on the internet.
Yeah, and we have the distinction of, as many people did, we got ripped off by Wisdom Tree, who made those Super Nintendo Bible games that you're thinking
they
about.
Are terrible.
And they approached them at some convention or something, and were like, "Oh, we'll distribute it, and you'll get money for this." They never got any money. We never saw it anywhere. I saw it once on a website, like I googled it, and this was a long time ago, but like an Australian Walmart had an entry for it. They didn't have like a cover or anything, but it existed in somebody's ordering catalog, so they must have done something with it, and we never heard from them again.
That's too bad.
Yeah,
I guess you learned your lesson.
I guess maybe.
Well, that's like apparently Wisdom Tree did that a lot when they were in the NES era. Well, they ripped off Zelda and some other stuff and avoided trademark issues somehow. I don't know.
Well, and the people that made these games, I think also, I don't think we were alone. In that at all.
Probably not.
And like insert credit, you remember them?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it was that they were the reinventing games journalism, the new games journalism.
Oh.
Tim Rogers and Brandon Sheffield and all those guys.
Interesting.
They did an article one time about Wisdom Tree, just a little blurb kind of thing on their website, and I sent them a note. Hey, I got ripped off by those guys.
Well, that was actually kind of funny because speaking about getting ripped off, is one of the guys I know went to one of those crappy schools that was on TV, the for-profit schools.
Oh yeah,
and got his degree in what the hell, not computer science, but working with like different engines and all that stuff. I can't think of it for some reason. I lost my brain. Anyway, and he was reading Game Informer, and they had an article about that. He's like, that's exactly what happened to me. Because the guy in the Game Informer was like, how not to become a game developer. And he was like, I went to this program at Westwood, and they, I got out, and they're like, no, that doesn't work here. But, they told him, oh yeah, it transfers to all these schools, and then he looked up the list finally when he was graduated, and it's like mostly high schools, and he's like, what the hell? So he went back to school and did another 4 years of work to get his degree. I was like, oh man,
that is too bad. So then we got Jeff. He's our music guy.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I'm leaving parts of the story. So way later, we had done a couple of games, and we were going to do Astro Man on the Xbox.
Oh, okay.
Indie system.
Mm.
And we I was I got to get some sound guy, right? And I'd already I'd done a thing where I hired a guy online kind of randomly, and it got a good soundtrack out of him. But I had no idea what I was doing. It was an okay experience, but it was kind of weird, you know, like working long distance. I'm like, I'd like to avoid that if I can, and we had even worked on that project. We had found a local guy to do it, but he totally flaked out on us. So it's like, oh no, and the music department people there are so insanely busy, anyway. Like, it's like I don't blame the guy for having like other things to do.
Those guys, it's like a 7-year freaking degree.
Yeah,
it's
ridiculous. So Jeff had already graduated, I think he had, but apparently, like, everybody I have talked to knows Jeff Ball, and back in Ellensburg.
Oh, okay.
And they're all like, oh yeah, he was at this party you were at, Michael. Didn't you see him? And I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. And then like way later, like I was talking to one of my friends, and he's like, oh, I didn't know you knew Jeff Ball. And I'm all like, I didn't, but you thought you'd hide the talent from me, didn't you? I will find it. But a friend of ours or a friend of my wife's, my now wife's, said, oh yeah, you want him to work on this. And I'm like, okay. So I had already sent out like, hey, will you work on this thing? Because, I'm hedging my bets.
Yeah.
Who wants to work on this thing? And I got a bunch of replies, and I'm like, okay, we're considering. It's like, this is terrible. But I was really waiting to see, what am I going to hear back from this guy? And Jeff was amazing and easy to work with, and
that's cool.
And you've heard his music, so he's amazing. And so we're like, you're on the team. So he did Astro Man. When I did the free Tiny Barbarian, I just said, hey, you want to make a song for this? And he's like, sure, whatever, I guess. And then when I was doing the sequel, it's kind of like, well, obviously he's got first dibs.
Yeah.
So I've got to ask him. He's like, yes, I will do it. And I'm like, oh, really? Thank God. I don't want to have to go find somebody else to do it.
That's the worst. Like, having to rely on other people is just a nightmare in itself. Like, you're just worried that person isn't going to come through or flake out at the last second.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's what happened with PAX. I was supposed to have like a full audio rig from a guy that goes to Central.
Would you like something to drink, like water or anything?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
But he was supposed to come with like a whole audio rig because he goes to school for audio engineering, and he decides to back out. I had free tickets for this guy, free 4-day pass, and he backs out at the last second and is like, I can't make it, sorry about that. Thank God, a friend of mine, I had just graduated, and we hadn't seen each other, and he's like, hey, you gotta swing by, I got a gift for you. Well, he gave me this thing, this recorder that I'm using right now. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. He's like, why? And I was like, oh, well, I do all this I was gonna do these recordings at PAX, and this guy backed out on me, and he's like, oh, well, perfect then. Now you got a mic and a camera, you're solid.
He's been replaced.
Mm-hmm. I was like, good, because I hate dealing with people. Well, I mean, I don't hate people, but I hate relying on people, because a lot of the times you never know exactly what they're going to do, and then you can back out at any point, and it's always good to find somebody you can rely on. And then you're like, I want to keep this person as close to me as possible. So I played it. I played Tiny Barbarian on a Xbox 360 controller on my computer.
All right.
Did you guys plan that, or did you plan it more around the keyboard?
I planned it for a controller, but my feeling is you can play it with anything, because you just turn on Joy to Key, right? Or something, and it works. Because, and that was what I did with the first one. It was in Game Maker. It was just this thing I made, so it's like, I'm not worried about figuring out gamepad support. Is not a relevant. It was not one of the goals of that project. It was just like, just make the stupid thing, and that's why it's not very, like, you can't go to full screen in it. There was these sort of Game Maker related quirks that I wasn't interested in figuring out. And, whereas this time it's like, okay, got to do everything. We're gonna have remappable keys. We're gonna have remappable gamepad keys, and of course we wanted to work on as many controllers as we could, and we started out with XNA, or the developing
yeah.
thing here, which is a Microsoft thing. So it's like, well, it's going to work, right, with all of these gamepads. And so we have, we're releasing with Monogame as our distributable because it does not require a separate installation of XNA, which made things a little easier. And so we were setting that up. And it turns out that when we released this thing, their support for the Xbox pads is totally wacky. Like, it works with mine on my machine, and it works on Daniel's on his machine, and then over our friend Jason has like a third-party machine, or third-party controller that he tried and it didn't work. And I'm like, it's a third-party controller, don't worry about it. And just with some other people it worked fine. And then as soon as I released it, like, everybody on Kickstarter's like, it doesn't work with my Xbox 360 pad, what's going on?
And you're like, oh.
And I'm like, oh, well, you know about Joy to Key, right? It's a marvelous program. And so we got that fixed pretty early on, but it was like a real embarrassing thing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like we were targeting Xbox controllers specifically, but and now we have support for almost every controller. So just got in because Danny just got in there deep and wrote his own code for gamepads, and it works pretty good.
See, again, you gotta rely on yourself and your team, man, because XNA sometimes very strange setup. So, like, do you guys? I don't know if it is, but do you guys plan on releasing it on like XBLA or any of that stuff, or is it just a pain to get through with that?
It's at this point, it seems that there are a lot of different ways to get through there. Because I know with Sony now has kind of an Xbox Live indie kind of thing going, where you can just hop on, you can find a publisher to do it. You can find people who want to put your game on there for you, and I've talked to some people about that. And it's the code for the game is, I'm like, I don't know if I want to put anyone else through all this, because it's not it's not a badly made game, right? But
well, I mean, it runs very well.
It runs well, but it's tied together through all these different systems. Like, it's got the XNA, it's got C#, it's got Daniel's custom 2D engine, it's got my ridiculous code on it. So it's like, and it's got some weird quirks to the way that it is just put together that I'm kind of like, I don't know if someone else is even going to want to do it when they see it, like what it would be. But so there are a lot of different ways to get on there. But it was, again, kind of like with the the scope of this project was not really. It was like, I'm going to put this on PCs, and we'll get a Mac port, which is coming, I promise. So it wasn't like, I'm going to make this, platform agnostic or whatever. Like in which case we would have, planned things out from the beginning, and we would have, done it on something less proprietary. I mean, PC, you wouldn't think that would be a proprietary thing, but the systems that you build it out of, they do make a difference. So it's, I mean, you can port it, you can work around it and all that, but it would be best if Daniel just takes his engine and puts just make it for the PlayStation 4. It'll be fine. That would be the sort of the ideal thing, but that's a harder thing to do. So
yeah, well, I mean, I hear from some people that recently XBLA has just been a pain to work with. So I wasn't sure if you guys had tried to work with them, and you're like, okay, never mind.
The indie experience was kind of cool because it really is its own little self-running thing. Like, Microsoft just turns it on and keeps it running, and the community actually moderates what games get put online, and it's all, consequently everything gets put online, even if it's garbage, and it contributes to the ghettoization of the thing, but
which is too bad.
Is too bad. There were some really there's a great game on it right now that came out recently called Magicians and Looters. It's really good. It's kind of a Metroidvania kind of adventure magical fantasy thing with it has like the best humor writing in a video game, like in an indie, like not really the best necessarily. I mean, like
it's
Portal or
but
Bastion or something, but it's good and it's funny, and I laughed out loud at places, and I was really impressed. It's got some weird quirks to the game a little bit every now and then. I'm not giving it like 100%
amazing,
but play it. It's really good. Give those guys $1.
Well, then I'll have to check that out. What is it again?
Magicians and Looters.
Magicians and Looters. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
I tried, like, I don't mind doing big games, but I have like a soft spot now for people who do their things either on their own or with a small team. I'm like, with my experience of the website, I'm just like, I run most of it on my own, and it takes up so much more time than I wish it would. But, you know, I have this small group of people that write for me, and I you know, after I did that, I'm like, indie game developers have to go through so much more than this. And I'm sure they're like, it'd be really fun to make a game, and then they're halfway through it, and they're like, oh god, I wish I could just end it.
Yeah. End it all.
Exactly, you know, and I was like, and it's nice, those people work so hard that if it's a good game, I'd prefer to get it out there than it, because like you said, there's so much crap that comes out.
Yeah.
And there's like these hidden gems that you hope to find among all these indie games. And
I had a weird experience with that recently. So my whole, ever since like year like 2002 or whatever, I was starting to lose interest.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not really, like with the whole indie thing, especially like around that time, it wasn't, you know, were people even saying the word indie?
I don't think so.
But we were still trying, and I mean, we were trying to make stuff. And my thinking was, if not me, then someone else surely is going to make one of these cool things, and I'm gonna see it. And you know, you're watching these indie sites, and it's just like, it's not that it's garbage, but it is a lot of people just kind of like, hey, I just made this game, it's kind of cool. And from that perspective it is, but I'm like, no, I want this sleek production. I want it to be cool and big and ambitious. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be super ambitious, because you get, like, at that time, like, the thing that all the, you know, kids would do would be like, I've written out a design document for a better MMO than World of Warcraft. I've got 26 races and all these things. I need artists and programmers and scriptwriters, and I will make the website.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, bad ambition.
Yeah.
But so that they just didn't feel like they were, you know, no one was really putting all that effort into it at that time, and so it was like, and then even now, you know, there's a lot more good stuff out there, but if you have really specific tastes as what you're interested in, then you're still kind of like, I hope you're watching carefully, because eventually it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so Ninja 5.0, have you heard of this game for the Game Boy Advance? It's a...
no, I haven't.
It's made by Hudson, or published by Hudson anyway.
I like Hudson.
Yeah.
They always...
And it's a game about a police officer by day, ninja by night. You never see any of the police officer part. It's just a ninja. And he's got a grappling hook that he uses to swing around, and like Umi Harakawa say, it's not as physicky as that. It's a little more like as an action playable game. Like you whipping around, like you hook a ledge below a guy, and then you'll and he's got a hostage, right? It's like the 1980s, and terrorists are bald men wearing suits hucking hand grenades at you. It's a wonderful time to be alive.
Yeah.
And so you hook... So he's got the hostage, right? And the hostage's like, help, help, with a little text bubble. And you hook it from below, and you'll, like, swing up and around and behind the dude and just come down with your sword swinging, and and the guy's like, thank you, and you save the hostage. And there's all these cool little swingy moments in it, and it was one of my favorite games at that time, and still probably is one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
And they it just snuck out, and I found out about it on some guy's blog like shortly after it came out, and it was like this guy reviewed like 4 games, and then his website, he turned it off. And it's like, now you can't get that game. It's on eBay for hundreds of dollars maybe, and they didn't make very many, and all this, and you know, and it was just like, oh well, I'll just run down to Fred Meyer and buy this because I can still.
Yeah.
And so I got into this mindset, which I already kind of had, that like, if I don't buy this game, it's going to get rare and I'm never going to be able to play it or something. I was worried about missing out on things. And so after that, I'm like, oh, this is the worst thing. And so I'm looking on all these indie websites like, someone's going to do this and I'm going to be here to not miss it. And you know, you get some great looking games like Owlboy, or not necessarily great looking, but you know, the letter V 6 times, or Noitsu Love 2 De-Evolution, or whatever the name of whatever the subtitle of that was, the really, really good one. And it's like, I've come across these games, and it may have been right when it happened. And the great thing with indie games is that it doesn't matter if it happened a long time ago or now, because it's still there. It's a download title. It's not going to go away. But But so I felt like I got to be there on the cutting edge for when these not cutting edge games come out.
Yeah.
And when and it's I'm like I'm driving myself crazy with this. And lately I've been like, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. My video game website browsing is way down. I'm much calmer, and I feel like I'm making better use of my time and all of this. Oh, this is great. And then the other day, I got a thing from Bandcamp saying, hey, Jake Kaufman just released the soundtrack to this game, and do you want to buy that soundtrack? And I'm like, well, I don't know what this game is. What is it? And I'm like, and I look at it, and I'm like, holy shit. Where is this game? Where did it come from? It's got cool 2D colorful graphics, and I don't remember the name of it. It's hard to pronounce. Like the game says how to pronounce it on the website.
That's amazing.
And it's got like a sexy Barbarella kind of lady protagonist from outer space, and I'm like, where has this game been all my life? Right? I'm like so excited to learn about this game, and I'm like, how long has this been out? And oh, there's a demo. You can try the demo. I'm like, I'm trying the demo. It's so exciting. And then I decided, well, I'll Google this. I'll find out, because here it is, and I found it anyway, which is great. And then not only did I find it anyway, I found it the day that everyone else did, because it was like it just happened. That was my venue in, and I'm like, huh. I wasn't even trying, and this thing fell into my lap, and it's kind of cool.
That's what's happened for the last few games.
So I think the really good ones will fall into your lap eventually.
I always hope. I'm like, I hope I get here like near the beginning so that, I'm helping out this guy with his money situation and, actually doing good. But because it sucks when somebody does a really good job of something and then...
And by the time you find them, they're already all discouraged.
Yeah, exactly. And I go... or like the whole team's disbanded and they're like, yeah, we don't want to do it anymore. And I'm like, that one more sale might have.
Yeah.
But and that's why I like try to put it on like as much stuff out there is just because when a good game comes out, you want to support it.
Yeah.
And you hope to push that forward. I don't know. Even with like big AAA titles that, well, I mean not AAA titles, but like when Mass Effect first came out, it wasn't like a huge selling product, especially in the beginning. And I'm like, I should buy this game and I should get people to buy this game just because I want them to make a second one. They kind of ended it with like both endings, sort of like it's open for a sequel, but at least we tied up this section of the story. And that was kind of my thing because originally I don't think they were going to make a second one right off the bat, but.
Yeah,
it sold well enough apparently that it did, but I don't know. I feel like this dedication to certain games help push things along, and new ideas are always nice. But like yours, I like the fact that it returns to this old side-scrolling setup. Like
it's what I love.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I love side-scrollers, and a lot of people are like, why do you like to play the really hard ones? Tiny Barbarian isn't like atrociously hard, where it's like for a very small section of people, which is nice. Because like Super Meat Boy is so freaking hard.
Yeah,
and Mega Man games are really really brutal. This one's hard, but it's accessible to people. I think. I think it's an awesome introduction for people because. It's hard enough to be engaging, but not hard enough to where you just want to break the controller in half. You know what I mean? Was that like, I guess part of your guys' plan was to make it difficult, but not so hard that people are like, I don't want to play it anymore. Yeah,
and that's kind of carrying through with the other episodes also.
Yeah,
like I'm not trying to one up the difficulty of it, and then you don't even when it comes out, like you won't have to have beaten episode 1 in order to play episode 2 because there's not really a continuity kind of thing. It's like, well, it just starts and...
Each independent story.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, there's no reason to make a person have to play it. Yeah. So if you want to just do this one, then you just do that one. I don't want... If people are all like, I'm so mad about that, but I really want to play the second episode, then when that does hit, then they'll just be able to jump right in wherever they want. So...
well, I guess that's a bonus, but I mean... I don't know.
Yeah,
elbow dropping vultures is awesome.
Not too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that...
I was like, one of the funniest things, because I accidentally jumped and did the elbow drop, and I was like, I wonder if I can kill that bird with this damn thing. So I elbow dropped it. I'm like, this is awesome.
Did you get an achievement for that?
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called, but
it's a vulture pancake. But that was like, I would jump along and I would whack when I was demonstrating the game to people, or people would play it. Like, they would hit the vultures hard enough with one of those down strikes, it just goes off the screen, and that always like.
There's just a cloud of feathers.
That's a thing. It's a thing I want to encourage.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's like just a cool little thing. The one thing I did want to ask you, how hard was it to program that cat?
It was difficult.
I was going to say, because I was like thinking about it when I was playing it. I'm like, this is going to be just a pain in the ass.
It really, it wasn't like super hard. I mean, like, the basics of it were, what Daniel always told... Daniel used to do all the programming for these games, and this is the first one where I kind of took over, and I'm like, this is a me script-wise game, so I didn't have... Like, we didn't have cutscenes or anything. Like, we didn't have, like, a section where some guys broke the floor up from under you and you fell into a pit, with ladies in it, and then another bomb falls, and then, I would never have said, Daniel, I want this scene in this game. Yeah. Because he has to implement all that. And I'm like... And I'm never going to sell him on this, but when I'm doing it, I can, now. And he'll be all... And afterwards, I'll be like, man, that was a lot of work. And he'll be all like, see? Yeah, exactly. But because it's me, I can force myself on myself in that way.
Yeah.
So it was like, if I had really, like, the way Daniel would always say do these things is like, make it so that the thing, because he kind of coached me through some other projects that we were working on. He'd be like, make it so that the thing is always attached to you, but it's not visible and we're not worrying about it. And then later on, you're the same character. So there's other ways to approach it. And what I did is I'm like, no, it's got to be the way that it looks like it is, which is those things join together, and now one of them is dragging the other one around.
Yeah.
We're not using like a physics system, so I have to manually keep track of like all of these guys and keep things together, and like, and then not screw anything up as a result of it. So there's that aspect of it, and then there was the sort of the way you want to implement it, and the how does this actually work in the game world sense. And I got a whole new appreciation for Super Mario World doing this, because when you get hit in Super Mario World, Yoshi runs away. Yeah. Like, every time, he bolts. Yeah. And it's always like, oh, that's so annoying. And when you get hit by, and there are certain situations where you're not going to be able to get him out. Mm-hmm. Like, he might end up in like a pit of spikes or whatever. Yeah. But that's just what happens. And then, like, in Tiny Barbarian, it's like, if he lands in the spikes and you can't get him out, then what are you going to do? Because this section is made to have him in it, but it's kind of a weird thing, this section. And people have commented on it, like, when people have criticized the game, one of the things they always say is, like, this section, kind of feels like you just wanted to have a cat here, and it would be a thing that would, break up the monotony or whatever. And it's like, that's right. And I wasn't thinking like, but I wasn't totally sure how I was going to do it. Like, there's the Rhino in Donkey Kong Country, where you just blow through everything. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it quite like that. And so it's possible to get knocked off, and it's possible for him, and it's possible to jump off, and it's also possible for that cat to land in spikes. And if you try to land on him again while he's in those spikes, then you're just going to get knocked off again. Yeah. So then I had to have this whole thing where now the cat has to control itself in order to get out of the spikes. Yeah, hops. But it can't. But then stop afterwards, because I don't want it to be like Yoshi go tearing off the screen and you're like, no, come back. So I really appreciate the elegance of Yoshi's design in kind of making this convoluted cat ride thing, and it's like, oh wow, I have a whole appreciation for how complicated this problem is, but it's not insurmountable. You can totally make games where you can ride on everything and you can control them and all that. You just have to have the rules, and you've got to have the smarts in how you lay it out and what you plan to do with that thing. Yeah, well, that's what I just assumed, man, that's got to be so much more difficult than
just animating the guy to you know, walk at you with the sword or chase you with the pike, you know. But like, I feel like you had to go through painstakingly to like clear this section with the cat in a certain way so that it, you know, make sure that it can make that jump.
Oh yeah,
make sure that it can get to this point. You know, it just seems like it's just got to be super.
It's a whole new character with new rules.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I really like doing that's the most fun part, is setting up some new crazy system, and that's what I really love doing. And it's very time consuming, but it's also the most fun part. So I like that. So there you get to write on more stuff in the future. There will be more weird things happening.
See, yeah, I was gonna say.
Says Michael, speaking to the microphone. Hey, audience.
Yeah, you're gonna get more writing. So I mean, I know you guys are like obviously really working on this at this point, but do you guys have any like ideas for future games?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm not allowed to have those ideas, but I have them anyway. And I mean, it's mostly me working on the game right now.
Yeah.
Like Daniel does kind of behind the scenes stuff when I ask him to, and hopefully when I ask him to, right? So he's working on, like, when it was time to get it onto Steam, he jumped in there and was like, you know, on it, like taking care of the code and getting things tied together, like, because the game has to talk to Steam and Steam's got to talk to the game, and making a leaderboard thing turned out to be a lot more work than I thought it was going to be, and you know, making that talk to things. So there are things where I'll be like, please handle this for me, and then Jeff's doing music, which is, you know, kind of a separate thing, but with a game like this, it's okay for it to be kind of a traditionally, you know, the music guy comes in at the last 10 minutes or whatever and doesn't get any of the input that he wants to have or whatever. So with this one, it may be the same, but it does not have to tie in programmatically quite so tightly as everything else. So with the game itself, it's like, yeah, it's me. So I'm the one who's in trouble with the Kickstarter guys if I don't make the game, and everybody else basically. So I'm the blame guy. So I'm not allowed to have all these other ideas, but I can't stop thinking about, like, oh, what do I want to do next, or what would be a cool thing that I can't actually put in this game because it would be too weird in this
in this context.
So yeah, but I do little, you know, kind of one day experiments from time to time where I'll be like, oh, what if I do play around with this a little bit, and So hopefully this means that when it does come to the next game, I can kind of be all like, I'm going to take that one, and it'll be something that, you know, I'd put a little bit of time into and I can flesh out.
Like, what kind of game would you want to build?
I would want to build another action game.
Okay.
Kind of like Tiny Barbarian, but kind of different also. Like, I would like to do a game that is not as complicated in terms of, like needless complication. Like, it's so cool because, you know, you bop a guy and he goes flying, and you know, but you know, if an enemy is so much less complicated if you can't, like, launch it into the air. Mm-hmm. Like, if you just whack it and it just dies, it's like, oh, that was easy.
Yeah.
So making a game where you don't need those kind of knocks and hits is a thing that I'd like to do. I'd kind of like to do some 3D games actually, but that's a lot more complicated work asset wise. Like I've done some 3D art and things, and I can do that, but I'm all kind of like, oh, I don't know how this is going to work if I actually were to try to do a whole game like that. And then maybe I would have to, like, bring somebody on for that and be like, hey, I need a graphic guy, and then I'd be getting into fights with him and be like, you know, it's going to be like this. So I don't know about that, but I would definitely like to do more platformers. Like, I remember an interview, like, a long time ago with Shiny, back when they made Earthworm Jim.
Okay,
and he said a thing like, we don't want to be known as that platformer company, and I think they did make a lot of platformers, maybe, or run and jump type games at any rate. And it's like, I don't care. Well, that's what I want to play. I want more companies to be known as that platformer company. So.
Exactly. Oh, I mean, Mario.
Yeah.
Is one of those games that it almost never changes, yet is awesome.
Yep.
Every time it comes out, you're like, oh, this is great.
Well, sometimes it's not that great. Like the new Super Mario Brothers games are kind of like, I like those ones. The one I'm pointing at there. I like the Wii U one. I like the Wii one. The first DS one was pretty light.
Yeah.
And I've heard so much bitching and moaning about new Super Mario Brothers 2, the Coin Madness episode or whatever, that I haven't even played that one. But I'm like, how bad can it be? I mean, it's Mario.
Yeah. Well,
but I really do feel like sometimes they need to push it a little more. Like, and like when I was saying earlier, I don't know if we were recording, about Super Mario 3D World, and it's like suddenly Bowser's in a car and the platforms are insane.
Yeah.
It's like, that's all the push I needed. It's like, yeah, just give it a little bit of edge, and it'll be awesome.
I think that's like a big thing, especially with Mario, that gets lost, is like a little bit of tweaks goes a long way with people, and keep these core mechanics, but make it just a little bit different. I think that's really cool. I actually have a question for you. Have you ever used GOG.com?
Oh, good old
cool games. Yeah.
I have not actually purchased anything from them, but I'm familiar with them.
They had all the beginning Fallouts for free.
Oh wow!
Until Saturday, and it was awesome.
Wow.
I loved those games when I was a kid,
mm-hmm.
and I probably shouldn't have been playing them because they're pretty graphic.
Yeah,
but I got them again.
You haven't done a violent act since I saw you. So.
Yeah, exactly.
In the short time.
Well, I always think that too. That's a whole other argument I have about.
Everyone thinks they turned out fine.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Most gamers I know are calm, mostly.
Well-adjusted seeming people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've never seen a person like violently strike someone because they were, I was playing Call of Duty and now I'm gonna knife somebody in the face or something. I don't know. I don't see that kind of stuff.
Well, when you see young kids who you really don't think should be playing that thing, and you kind of see the way that they're interacting with people in the game or something, then I could totally see where people start getting worried, and that's and I hate to say this, but that is a very different thing than what I had access to when I was a kid. It's not just the game; it's the whole environment and the behaviors that are coming out of that environment, and I'm sure those kids will be fine. You can't audible grimace. They're going to grow up and they'll be like, it turned out just fine. And they're like, it was a real piece of work when I was 9, but
now I'm 13.
Yeah, now I know everything.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that is really different, but at the same time, it's like that's what everybody says. Kids these days have access to this thing I didn't have. I don't understand how they're dealing with it. And
I think when I was a kid, I was like, "This is so realistic." You know what I mean? Like, like I think it's your perception. Like now you look back on it and you're like, "Oh, my games weren't nearly as gory as today." But look at Doom and things like that.
Oh yeah.
It's like back then you thought that would look real. So what's the difference between something
you kind
that now
of did?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I was saying, I don't necessarily think it's the violence in the game necessarily that worries me anyway. It's the
social interactions.
Weird social interactions, and so I do get like worried about some of like the sexist stuff. Like it's like ooh, and you do see the carryover of things like that, like into the job industry or the games industry or job industry in general, and it's not just video games, but like ooh, look what we are training ourselves to do.
Yeah.
We got all these people who don't think that they got raped, but they did.
Yeah.
And it's that culture aspect, and it's like, oh my god, I didn't mean to turn this into a serious thing.
No, you're fine.
But it's like
I just wrote an article about misogyny in games.
Yeah, we have like as a society we have really screwed up in a lot of ways, and like you can look at video games and go, this is how video games are contributing to that problem, and that which all these other things are contributing to as well. So I
argued that I argued that that it's not just women who are attacking are attacked in games. I was like, men too. If you're gonna say these social norms are or whatever, well, I'm not Gears of War guy. I'm not 6'4", 420 pounds of pure muscle dragging around this thing. You know, I'm like, well, you know, people just want to see what
awesome
they think
dudes and dudettes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was like, granted, there needs to be more equality, especially in pay and hiring and not judging based on if this person is pretty or not in the work, especially in the workplace. But I think people in general, when they view something, even movies and books, everybody's always described as, you know, like
ripped,
that perfect person, you know, like exactly, like the hourglass shape or these huge ripped muscly guys, you know, and that's not the way of the world for the most part. So it's
not always anyway.
No,
well, I mean not that, but like with books and things, you know, you get some normal looking people. But right. But then I have to remember that I really do go out of my way to find the things that are a little less. I mean, if I'm like, oh yeah, I read all these comics about people who don't have giant, you know, chests.
Yeah.
And then I realize, but if you go to the comic store, you're going to be looking for a long time to find those same books that I found. It's not.
Because I was like, well, if it's misogyny, then there's misandry.
Yeah.
But to me, I do understand that there obviously is.
Those are different problems.
Yeah, exactly. That's I go. Well, yeah, the hiring process and all this and pay and. It's crazy how small of a percentage there is of women in gaming. I was shocked to find that, like, in '99 there was only like 3% of the industry was women, and now it's like 13%. I'm like, that just seems so strangely off because I feel like there's so many more girl gamers out there than I don't know. But
you know, but they're different than we are. You know. When you get into the perspective that there's so many, you know, you've got the social game kind of aspect, you know, you got my mom playing Farmville, and then you've got you know, these nerds saying, well, that's not a game, and when I was 13 or whatever, that's exactly what I would have said. I'd have been like, that's and it's
now
not,
I'm like, gamers are gamers. It doesn't really matter.
Well, and it's like I can look at you know, I could say, you know, as an extreme case, you know, like, well, I like this game here, and I can look at, you know, Uncharted or something, which is a game beloved by many nerds, and I would say, that's not a game. This Sonic the Hedgehog here is 2D graphics. This is a game because it's what I want to play. And it's like it's not that you're saying that's not a game. It's you're just kind of dismissing it. It's not a part of your head canon.
Yeah.
You're not interested in this.
Well, like me, everybody says I don't understand how you play so many different types of games because I love Sonic. I'll play Sonic. But I love Uncharted. That's in my you know, top 10 games of the last generation. Is something. Is Uncharted 2 was perfection for an action, third person perspective. I mean, I don't know. I think that's what a lot of games like strive to be afterwards, and I'm like, that's something that I really enjoy. And I'm sad that Sonic games now really don't add up. But I mean, I literally like a week ago I sat down and played like 2 hours of Road Rash. So I mean, like it's just funny because I can go with whatever is out there. It's not a big deal. I don't like JRPGs, and that is heresy to a lot of people. But I'm not that kind of person.
But there are a lot of people who don't like JRPGs. It's kind of they've kind of funny how that. Like when I was a kid, like Final Fantasy, oh my god, Chrono Trigger, oh my god, we're really excited about these, and then like Daniel's uncle was like, he's older, right, and he was like, where my friends, you know, were PC gamers, he was a PC gamer in caps, and an adult, right?
Yeah.
So as an adult who plays games, you know, he's got all kinds of opinions and biases, right?
Yeah,
he's crazy, and he's not really crazy, but you know,
but
like,
as a kid,
but like we're playing, you know, Final Fantasy VII has just come out, and we're all like, whoa, look at this. And he's just like, save points? Are you people insane? and he's like, the character, like, you can change the character names, but look at them. That one looks like a girl, and he's not a girl. And like, this story is stupid. And we're like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I bet you kids watch a lot of animes. And we're like, this guy is completely backwards to us. It's like, what? Or like I remember I brought my Saturn over one time when we had this big party or whatever, and I'm playing Street Fighter Alpha 2, an excellent game, and he's just like, Jesus, would they stop talking? And you know, it's just a Hadouken, and it's like, and he thought that was the stupidest thing he'd ever heard. It was totally alien to him.
That's weird.
And it's like, what a world.
That's actually another thing.
But there are all these people now, especially like there's backlash against JRPGs. Like people have finally got sick of them. It's crazy.
Well,
so there's all kinds of reasons to not like them.
Well, the tweaks they've made to try to make them relevant have not worked.
This is the thing,
and that's a problem. But also, a lot of them have just stuck to, you have to grind, and you're gonna have to do all this stuff, and that's just not the way to. I feel like that's just, they haven't changed with the gamers' perspectives of games. Like I think a lot of more Western RPGs have really gained ground in that, and people want games that are like Mass Effect, not where you don't have to grind, or Skyrim or something like that. You know, where you're not grinding your way through everything.
Although, if you think about like any really good JRPGs, it's like I can't think of one where I had to grind. Like, but then I'm thinking of, you know, going way back, and I'm thinking of Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy 3 or 6, as we call it today.
Yeah.
And like you could grind, and there were reasons why you might decide, okay, I want to grind, and by the way, I found a really good place to do it.
Yeah.
That was part of the game, but for like Chrono Trigger, I don't recall ever. But
was it Valhalla? I can't remember.
But like a lot of games were designed kind of to not necessarily require that. But those are not.
Just wasn't good
but
enough.
Those are not all the good ones.
Yeah.
Or I've just completely obliterated those sections from my brain because they weren't worth remembering.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as a kid, I feel like you don't really realize.
Oh yeah, you certainly don't think you're wasting your time.
Yeah, and I think that like disappears from your brain because I thought the same thing about Chrono Trigger because I played it as a kid, and then I played it on the DSi, and I was like, holy crap, I'm having to grind a lot. And maybe I just suck at that game now, and I was better at it as a kid, but I was like, man, I cannot beat this guy.
Or it could also be that because you know you're better at games now. You're like just and so you're spending, or you remember, like, oh, I remember how to get through this, so I didn't fight this stupid thing over and over while it was interrupting me. And
yeah. That might be
so
exactly
so you may have just sort of unbalanced the game by being good at it. So there's, but it is it's different.
Yeah,
we don't really want that anymore, and I totally agree.
I mean, I was fine with it when I went back and played it, but and everybody recommended you know, you have to play the updated version. You know, you don't understand. You know, as a kid, you're gonna, you know, you skipped over all this good storytelling, and I'm like, I don't know, I like that game, and I always feel like if I go back and play something, I might ruin my fond memory of it. You know, so it was a really difficult thing to go back and play, and I did finish it, but there were some sections where I was like, I'm gonna have to grind this to get my guys up further. And you might be right that I just beelined it too fast and didn't fight these monsters that, you know.
Yeah. Or Final Fantasy 3 is really bad like that, because you get into the world of Ruin, and then it's like, well, where do you go? You have to find the encounters that are right for you.
Yeah.
And if you got creamed, then you can either go level up by doing it the boring way, or you can go find a good place to do it that's not so boring.
Yeah.
And for the perspective of like what the other games were like at that time, it's like, whoa, brilliant.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
And especially that the initial game is not like that. It's like, because you're kind of funneled through a path, and then later on you're like, oh, now it's opened up.
Yeah.
But the world is not friendly to you.
Yeah.
The world hates you and wants you to die.
I really think that a lot of games, like, especially from like the 90s and stuff, these guys have gotten older, and they went, oh my god, well, not only have game experiences gotten longer, like, I mean, with your game on the leaderboards,
oh yeah,
people speedrun that thing in 12 minutes. I'm like,
oh, not that fast, but yes.
I swear the top one was like 12, or maybe it was 20 something minutes.
Yeah. Well, right now there's some guys who've got it down to a little under 17 minutes, which kind of blows my mind away.
Maybe it was 17 and not 12. Maybe I'm seeing the extra little leg on there. Either way, that's like shockingly fast, because it took me like,
you got to know what you're doing,
hour and 7 minutes or something like that to finish, and I was like, man, I feel like an idiot for finishing it in that long when this person did it in 17 minutes.
It's not his first time at the rodeo.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like,
have you played Volgar the Viking? Have you heard of it? Oh man, well, it's your lucky day. You just heard about Volgar the Viking. That came out recently as well, and it's very similar to Tiny Barbarian in that it is a kind of difficult 2D action game about a man with no shirt, and and it's like whereas you were saying like Tiny Barbarian's not that hard.
Well, it's difficult, but still engaging.
Like when you kind of like that balance of Volgar is like, it's really trying to kill you, but it's also and the character is not as like outwardly not as strong as Tiny Barbarian, whereas you're leaping around and spinning your sword and all this crazy junk. Volgar is a little more straightforward in his attacks, and he's a very weak character, but consequently it sets up these challenges that you're like, I better think about this before I go in there, and it's I think like incredibly fair, because when you die you probably learned something, and it feels just incredibly solid, and it's a great game, and it's very different from Tiny Barbarian in kind of the way that it goes about being what it is, even though they're conceptually pretty
very
similar. I mean, like when I first heard about it, like they were developed at about the same time. When I first heard like, oh, these guys are making this game, and like, oh no, and then I looked at it and it's like, this is so different. Oh my gosh. But like if you like Tiny Barbarian or you like Volgar the Viking, you'll probably like that other one too.
That's cool.
Although not in every case. Like I read one profoundly negative review of Tiny Barbarian where it's like, this guy just wants more Volgar the Viking, and I can't blame him for that, but yeah, I'm sorry, my game is so different from that. But it's super hard, but it's also like I say incredibly fair. Like I've chatted with the developers a few times, and they were saying that the people say this game is incredibly hard, but I think because the simplistic controls and the way that it really does teach you through the game, it's incredibly fair. It's very consistent in how it doles out the punishments. It's like a person who had never played a game before would probably have a much easier time beating Volgar the Viking than they would any new game that uses all the buttons on the controller or requires you to kind of be familiar with all these different gaming conventions, because it will pound them into you. Like now you've learned something. It's like, this is a great introductory game.
Well, I think games like that have issues because people are so impatient. They don't want to sit and maybe watch for a few seconds, like the movement of that spinning axe, these two moving up and down the wall. They're like, I'm just going to run and jump at it, and hopefully I do it. Instead of sitting there and maybe going, okay, how do I approach this whole section that's going to be complicated?
Well, it seems to have done pretty well. Like, people are definitely loving Volgar the Viking, so...
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess, how well have you guys been doing?
Pretty well.
That's good.
Like, I mean, since I don't compare myself to other products because I'm me in my own small time thing. But it's doing well enough now that we're on Steam. Steam has surpassed my expectations, which admittedly were not that high. It's not like I'll look at Gama Sutra. People will do a little here's your sales here's what we got, here's our sales figures, and and they've sold 20,000 copies or something, and they're all like, that's great, but it ended and it's not enough, and blah blah blah, and you're like, or maybe it's even 10,000 copies or whatever, and I'm like, damn, if I get 20,000 copies sold of this game over the next so many years, I'm like, yeah, that'll be amazing. And so I'm not anywhere near that yet, but it has any of those guys would look at Tengu Barbarian and be all like, how are you eating? Yeah. And I'm like, well, I had some savings. Yeah. All this. But I'm very surprised and happy that it's. I'm not surprised that it got on Steam. I mean, it makes sense that it got on Steam.
Yeah.
The good stuff does get onto Steam as it should. But
I like talking to Valve. They're so easy to deal with compared to so many other big companies. Like, dealing with WB or Nintendo is a nightmare. Like, they've pulled videos on me for doing reviews.
Oh wow.
On games. And I'm like, what the?
What?
This is a positive review, first of all. So why are you like?
Did you show too much footage?
Well, it was like 6 minutes, and most of it is just, me talking. But apparently, I used too much of the trailer for Batman, and then they cited that, and so my video got pulled. And then I took it out.
This is automated sounding stuff. Almost.
Well, so you can petition. So I petitioned, and I got rejected because I used it. I used 1.5 minutes solid of video, so I was like, okay, well, I'll cut it down. I'll just use a little bit more of my video, and I'll use a little bit less of theirs.
And what's your video? Is captured game footage, or you?
Me talking, or well, actually, it's my brother talking. But I was like, I'll just add an image because he didn't.
I'll watermark this.
I was like, I'll just put the logo in there because I don't have, whatever. And they were like, nope, still not good enough, and they pulled it again. So I just pulled it and just put the video of my brother and whatever sections I didn't have a video anymore. I was like, I'll just put the logo in all of it.
Oh, jeez.
And I used just a Batman thumbnail that I had taken myself a picture that I had taken myself at PAX of their big banner for Arkham Origins, and they still cited it. So I was like, F it, I'll just get rid of everything Batman. And I emailed one of the guys, and I was like, hey, why do you guys keep pulling this? My brother gave it a really good review compared to all these other people, because he was like, I never ran into any of the issues that all these other people ran into. So for me, this game, is highly rated. You want
to tell people about it.
Exactly, and he's like, I don't understand why WB keeps pulling it. I'm like, don't ask me. And Nintendo did the same thing. We did a little video, and I actually just pulled it because it was like, I'm not even going to argue at this point because it's just going to keep getting pulled. But we had game captured some Smash Bros. And we were just like, we were playing it, so there was a lot of like fun, hysterical. Well, I mean, there was laughing and yelling at each other and things like that while we were playing. And I was like, this is cool. Well, Google automatically cites like, oh, you have a Nintendo image in here. So it immediately gets flagged as match content, and then you can do whatever, contest it. Nintendo came back and said, no, you're in violation of copyright. So
wow, when did this happen? Like just recently, you were saying?
Yeah, it was like a few weeks ago.
Jeez.
So I had to remove it because they were going to pull my good standing on my thing. So I was like, all right, fine, I won't put it on there. But yeah, Nintendo and WB the only two. Otherwise, I've had no issues. And
well, Valve's got such a different attitude about things.
Yeah.
And being a smaller company in that, I don't really think of Valve as a small company, but they are.
I don't see them as a small company, but yeah, you're right.
But they're definitely different.
They're a strange company. Actually, I'm supposed to do an interview with I can't remember his name. One of the publicist people next month sometime, and I'm excited about that. It was easy to contact them. I was like, oh, This is simple, like you guys. You know, you email a guy, and then like 2 days, or that day or the day after, you get an email back like, "Oh, hey, yeah, that's not a big deal. When do you want to do this?" And I'm like, "That's great." But you're right. It's because I think of them as big, but I think they're small enough that they can answer people.
Well, they're also small. They're big enough that they do have people to answer these things.
yeah.
But they're not so big that they have
sold their soul,
cut themselves off, kind of to pack themselves in behind a wall of PR that has kind of decided that this is how we're going to do things, and go through those guys. And if they don't think that you're what they want to do, then it's
Signal, the guys who make toy soldiers.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they're around here, aren't they?
Yeah, they were in Bothell, but now they're in Kirkland.
Yeah. I think I know someone who works there.
I lived across the street from them when I lived in Bothell, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And so I did an interview with them, and it was really funny because it was really easy to contact them. But the person who was supposed to do the interview with me was like out sick that day. Mm-hmm. So some poor guy, he was the executive producer on their new game, the Ascend Panda Cool thing, and he's like, "Hey, I just sat down and they told me that I'm doing this interview with you," because he called me like 5 minutes before we were supposed to do it. He's like, "So could you email me the questions? This is my email address." It was just funny because it was like this impromptu change at the last second. And he's like, "I'm so unprepared. I'm sorry. Just don't make me sound like an idiot when we're recording this, And I was like, "Yeah, it's no big deal. I understand if some of the stuff, whatever." And he's like, "Well, can I read over it before you publish it just to make sure that there's something that I didn't misrepresent or whatever?" Yeah. And so essentially, once he read it, he's like, "Yeah, that's fine. Publish it. There's not." He's like, "The only thing you need to define is these weekly challenges or whatever." But it was really easy to deal with, and I was like, actually, this might be something that I could more easily do. And Cappy was another guy that was really nice. So I don't know, like the smaller companies, I prefer to deal with because you're right. There's no wall of PR that you can't get through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And most of the time, I like smaller, fun games that I can pick up and put down.
Yeah.
One series of games I'm not good at, fighting games. I cannot. I couldn't fight my way out of a box, man, because I'm just so terrible at it.
An AI-controlled box.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like an idiot playing them, and I'm like, God, I remember I was so good when I was a little kid at Street Fighter, and now I'm just like...
Well, the thing about when you were a little kid at Street Fighter, probably you weren't very good at it.
Yeah, I guess you're right, yeah.
Because the competitive aspect of it is so... Like when you say you're not good at it, are you bad against the computer, or are you bad against other
I'm
players?
bad against other people.
Yeah. You gotta know about the footsie range and the, your... What kind of... I don't even know. All these things, and your... it is so much... there's a language to it that you're not aware of when you first start playing. My favorite fighting game is Virtual-On.
Yeah.
Yeah. And...
Somebody was just telling me that I should play this.
Oh.
I was just like, what is this game? And my buddy was just explaining it to me, and I was like, oh, I've never...
Oh, it's wonderful. But it's like when I first started, it's like it's like, oh cool, I'm a robot, I'm doing these moves and I'm beating the computer all right. And then I got online and I started, because I really liked it and I wanted to be better at it. And I knew that in Seattle there was a scene of people who played it, and I wanted to play with them and not be totally destroyed every time. And so there's a vocabulary to it. There's there are moves that you don't know about. There are, there's, there are moves that don't have names.
Yeah.
There's sort of like psychological, chess. You've got your gambits and things, and otherwise you're just moving pieces around on the board, even though you think you're playing by the rules, and you are, but you, you don't actually know anything about strategy. It turns out, and so you're. So yeah, you have to really work at it in order to you don't have to work a lot at it in order to be reasonably, you know, I mean, you don't have to work out that much to have fun, you know, with your buddies or whatever. But like when I'm playing Virtual On, you know, like flying all over the place and the camera's going crazy and robots are clashing into each other, and then a person who doesn't know what's happening is just going to have a seizure.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? You know, it's... and it did not get to that level easily. I had to play a lot.
Had to work a lot?
Had to work a lot to do that.
Yeah, I just was like, oh my god, I just got... I mean, this guy just, like, essentially almost perfect did this whole, you know, these matches, and I'm like... Maybe that was just like, you know, the rare thing, and then I kept playing, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm just getting destroyed. So.
Well, and then you get good, right? And then you're still destroyed.
Yeah.
Like so I went to Japan because I did a Japanese major, and Virtual On was really big over there. So I played it a lot there, and like I went to the Shinjuku Sportsland West arcade, which it's like it's one of the competitive, like that's where you go, like if you want to play against the people who are really good, and they had like. They'll have just rows of whatever is cool, and they had rows of Virtual On, and so I was playing it, you know, and there was one guy sitting there, you know, playing, and he and his friend were like trading off, right, and they were just beating people left and right, and and I played against them, and like, you know, I was playing as a heavy character in this thing, and he doesn't fall down that easily, and so they would just get up close and they would just hit me with these attacks, and like thunk thunk thunk, and you're dead. Yeah. Right? And I actually beat one round against this guy, like, yes. and you know, and that was the end of me. Like they were all like, whoa, let me back in the seat there, and we're like not facing each other. I don't know quite what happened on the other side, but they were surprised, and then, like, afterwards, like, one of the guys I was there with was like, beating that guy for a round is extremely rare. Here, have a coffee that I purchased for you from a vending machine. Yeah. You just did a great thing.
Is Virtual On played with dual sticks?
Yeah. Was I doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. was I making the movement?
Yeah.
I couldn't help it.
So...
I can show you the controller if you want to see it. I've got them.
Actually, yeah, sure. Why not? Because
hang on, I'll just go here and pull it out. I do. Ahem. What any sane person would, he's got like a weapon under here.
Yeah.
Would bring you like a Dreamcast controller or a Saturn controller, but because we should be videoing.
Yeah.
Because I am crazy, or certainly was. I have here the actual arcade panel with
that's amazing.
Saran wrap on it, I think, for protecting. I didn't want any grease or anything to fall out of the little bits down there. So this is a broken panel, I'm told. When I left my local scene over there, they were all like, I was like, I want, because people would break the sticks all the time, and like they had this box of sticks like behind the counter, like broken sticks that people had snapped off or whatever, and I said I want to take a stick with me when I go back, and they're all like, oh yeah, you can have a stick, that's cool. And then somebody was all like, wait, and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And they come down and they've got this thing, and they're all like, you can have that. I'm like, what? Oh my gosh. And so they all put little things down on the
that's cool
for me. And so it is a cool, cherished thing now. And the way it works is you helps if it's not like free floating like this. Yeah. I'm like, I can feel the things moving underneath. But you press sticks forward to move forward, back to move back, side. If you pull them apart, then you jump. If you press them in, then you'll guard or you'll cancel your jump. And if you go like this way, then you'll turn.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and then you've got your dash buttons up here and your shoot buttons here, and various combinations of those will do different things, and combinations of those in conjunction with the stick movements will do different things. So it's super esoteric. Like you know, if you think it's weird to like that, like if an alien, you know, came down and said, like, why these 6 buttons and this stick here control that man?
Yeah,
and it's like, to us that's totally normal, and then with this, it's like, this is like, it makes sense to me because I've done it, but it's like, this is a whole other thing. It's like, what? Especially when you get into like the button presses and like, you know, right stick left with left turbo and left attack button, or wait, all right stick. You know, just tap like that and hit all the buttons at once, that causes your character to like circle around the other one, spin around and back and flip your sword, chop them. There's
I love Tiny Barbarian. It was pretty fun. And I'm excited for it. When are you guys actually planning on putting out the remainder of the episodes?
Well, when they're done.
Well, yeah.
And in order.
Do you guys have like a time scale at all?
I really want, early next year for
Yeah.
episode 2, and then episode 3, hopefully. Definitely episode 3, same year. Hopefully episode 4 soon after.
Yeah.
Like, it might even, like, in my wildest dreams, they all come out next year, but I don't know about that.
You're like, I don't want to make any promises.
Yeah, that's like... Get done!
Yeah, exactly. It's like Telltale. They took so much longer than they promised.
Oh, Telltale.
Yeah.
Man, they're still around. That's crazy. I know that they still they put out a lot of games recently, but it's like, I think of Telltale as those guys who made Sonic 3D Blast.
Yeah. And an atrocious series of games. Until recently, they hit the...
What were the atrocious ones?
Oh, man. Well, I guess not atrocious, but just not very good. Jurassic Park and Back to the Future weren't very good.
Yeah.
But they struck gold with The Walking Dead.
Yep.
Have you played it?
I've not.
Oh,
but I've heard good I've read the comics.
Oh, okay.
It's seen some of the show.
It's pretty good. The show's okay.
I read the comics up to a point also.
Yeah. Show's okay. It goes...
Woo.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this is awesome, and sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to watch this show anymore.
Yeah, we watched through the first season, like, it was all on Netflix, and we're like, and then they're like, oh, there aren't any more episodes on Netflix, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
On to the next thing then. And then when they put new episodes up, we're like, I don't know if I want to deal with that kind of stress right now.
It's
kind
stressful.
of intense.
Yeah. Well, that's like, I couldn't watch them, like, because Breaking Bad would come out, and then like 2 weeks later, Walking Dead would be out on TV. It's like, I don't know if I can deal with all that stress of like, what's going to happen? But, yeah. Episodes.
Yep.
Well, that's what the problem is like, Telltale said, we'll put out one every month.
Oh.
And then they were like, we're going to skip December because we released early November.
Yeah.
And it's like,
whoops.
It's like, man, you shouldn't have made that promise. You should have said, we'll do it every, when you're certain you can finish it, But it's whatever.
This is my ignorance showing. Do you purchase each episode?
Yeah, they're each like $5.
Yeah, they're not expensive.
So they're not terrible. That's what I liked about your game. I originally thought it would be one at a time, and then I was like, oh man, that kind of sucks. And then I looked and I was like, oh, it is all 4. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, you'll get them. Yeah, I felt like I wanted to kind of do an episodic thing, but then I was all like, what if the thing that happens where I sell a lot of the first one and then nobody buys the second one?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this way you have to have the second one.
Yeah.
You're stuck with it. Because you get diminishing returns that way. And so I was thinking, like, how can I turn that around? I'll make it so you get all of them, and then it's the same risk. If I'm committed to making the thing, I guess I'm committed to making the thing now.
So in the Steam description, it doesn't tell you.
Oh, it doesn't?
I had to look on your website.
Oh, I'll have to change that.
At least I didn't see it. But then again, I could be blind. But I'm pretty sure it's not on there, and I was like, do I have to buy each episode individually? And then I looked at your website, and it was like, if you buy the one, you get all of them. And I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, that's just if you buy it through my website. I get a better deal that way. No. Like, that's my joke.
Yeah.
But I was like, this will be an interesting way to do it. And I'm the worst at marketing, so also this way people have multiple chances to talk about it and market for me and discover it. And even if, like, if you discover it when episode 2 comes out, you've still got 2 episodes, you're ahead of the curve. So you've got that moment where you're all like, yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah.
I know I savor that kind of thing. So, like, as we were talking about before, like, discovering things. And
I love it. I love it when... that's what... So, on my Twitter, that is... All I do is... well, not all I do, but most of the time I put out, like, hey, if you have an indie game and you think it's good or, whatever, message me. And
I will tell you if you are right.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I'm like, I'll write a review about it. So, trying to make sure it's good. Otherwise, you might not be happy with, whatever. And actually, that happened with State of Decay.
Oh.
The lady was like, "Oh, I'll give you a free copy if you do a review," and I said, "Okay, sure." And I did a review, and it wasn't that good, and I contacted her back, and she's like, "No, I'm not giving you the updated DLC." I was like, "But I could add to it if there's anything good."
I don't feel like whenever people like send me like a request for a code, then I don't even want to say like this is in exchange for a review.
Yeah,
it's like just do what you want to do.
Yeah,
it's like it's worth it to give it to you. For you've got the venue, and if you decide that this game's not worth talking about, then don't talk about it. Yeah. And if you think it's really bad, then I guess you should warn people. But also, it's like death by non-word of mouth is like saying nothing is like the worst thing for an indie game developer. So if you really don't like it, then don't say anything. And it's like, why waste your time reviewing that if you'd rather review some other thing too? So,
well, I played through the whole game just to give it. I was like, maybe.
Oh yeah, I don't get like the many bad reviews, but just kind of as a policy, my feeling is like, if they don't review it, that's fine.
Yeah. I feel like when I get a free copy, I feel like, okay, I owe them at least some feedback, and even if it's bad, at least I'll give them some sort of constructive criticism to try to fix.
You tell them you'll tell them why you felt that way.
Exactly, and at least you get some sort of feedback. But it does suck because, especially in State of Decay's deal, they're selling 900,000 copies, and they want to sell more.
Yeah.
And if you're like, it sucks, then it might be damaging their ability to make another one or whatever they're gonna do. But you gotta be honest. You can't just be like, oh, you gave me something free. You get a free pass on something, and
I'm not saying like I'm getting all these negative reviews or anything. It's just kind of my personal feeling. Like,
actually, all the ones I saw were positive.
Push. It was so funny. Talking to a friend who I hadn't talked to in a long time, and he's like, "Oh, you're making this tiny barbarian thing. Let me just check that out." And he's like, "Holy shit! There's a dude on YouTube who hates it." And I'm all like, "What?" And I go to YouTube and I'm searching for it. And I'm like, "No, these are all good things. What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Don't even send it to me. I don't want to see that."
Yeah. You're like, I don't even want the negativity.
That's gonna ruin my day. Why do you just show me this?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's weird. Like you getting all these requests for it. Like once it popped up on Steam, I got so many. Like it's like, oh wow, they're coming to me now. Holy cow!
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, here you go. I check the link, make sure it's a real website.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're good.
Well, see, me, to be honest, I was like, when I saw it, I was like, I'm not going to email them and ask them for a code.
I appreciate that, actually.
I was like, it's $10. Well, it was actually like $6 or whatever, the 40% off.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it's just rude for... And this, you know what I mean? Like, this is $6, and I'm going to help this person either way. Asking for a free code is kind of an a-hole move because, I know he wants this voice out there, but I'd rather pay for that experience to, help him out. If this, you know what I mean?
Well, if you pay for it yourself and you liked it, then it means all that much more because, like,
exactly.
If I give it to you and I'm all like, hey, you want to review this? And it's like, then you're like, oh cool, I got a free game. Hey, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're like, that was my $6, that's my $9.99.
Yeah, and that's what I feel about a lot of games. Like all the ones that I've had people review, they've all had to pay for them. Mm-hmm. There's only been a couple that we haven't had to pay for so far, and I tell you, running something small is you just have to hit like a certain person to get that snowball rolling, you know. And I'm sure that's the same way with you guys. You're trying to find that perfect setup where somebody mentions you and then it turns into this huge thing. Which
we had the Kickstarter that was.
It
was gonna happen. Like I had little injection points all over the place. Like, okay, I got this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and then And then Jeff's all like, "Hey, Notch retweeted us."
Yeah.
And then I'm like, "Ooh."
I know. Whenever I see somebody retweet me, I'm like, "Yeah." I like. You
and
guys
then I was
got
all
the
like,
mention on IGN and all that stuff.
What?
I think it was on IGN. Oh, it was one of the bigger sites.
Yeah,
I was like,
Joystick, I know.
Joystick was one of them, but I swear there's another big one. I think it was IGN. I think it was Game Informer. I can't remember, but yeah. I was like, holy crap, man! That must be awesome for them to get like this mention.
But when we were still on Greenlight, Game Trailers was doing these Greenlight trolls where they'd go through and they're like, "Here's 5 games that we think are cool," and he sent me an email saying, "This is the first time we're doing this. What we do you?" And I'm all like, "What can I give you?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Just some footage." And I'm like, "You want like edited footage? You want like a lot of footage? Do you want to put it together?" And he's like, "Okay, we'll put it together. Just give me some clips." About a minute. Cool. And I'm all like, "Yeah, here you go."
It's always funny to me because people ask for like, "Oh, I just need a clip of whatever or whatever." They don't understand how sometimes that takes freaking forever.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that minute video took you in an hour or something. Yeah, like, a few hours.
It's what I did that day.
No, exactly.
Yeah, it's putting together footage is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff's done some of the trailers, actually. He put together, like, the Kickstarter video for me, in fact, because I was like, I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. I can't... Like, eventually, he was just like, just give me the footage. Just give me the footage, and I will try to not make you an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm like, you did a much better job than I did.
And that's my problem, is, like, I didn't come from that background. I'm not a computer... I never did like graphic stuff or any of that thing, and I had to like go out and find somebody who could do my logo for me, and then I had to like hunt down all that stuff, and it starts costing money, and I'm like, I'm not making money off of this right now, and this is
a vanity project here.
Yeah, well, I'm like, this is my like pet project. Yeah. I've always wanted to do it. Years and years ago, I wanted to do it, and I really wish I had, because the market wasn't so flooded with just everything, and I was like, God, I was so mad at my buddy. I'm like, I told you we should have done this when we first started. And he's like, yeah, I know, because we would be making money now if it would have gotten popular. And I'm like, yeah, because now there's freaking every other site is a game site, and it's like,
well, or it's YouTube is fat and bloated and jolly with YouTube is jolly with video game review personalities.
I'm always shocked by it. Like, and it drives me nuts because I go, how did this guy that I'm sure all these views on this thing have been for 2 seconds, because either the person's voice is annoying or I don't know. It's always funny.
Have you read it? Are you familiar with the website P4R playforreal.com?
No.
They do fake video game news.
Oh, okay.
And it's pretty mean. They had one going around recently that got serious play because people thought it was real, where Nintendo said that no one can beat the first level in Super Mario Brothers, and they do these tests every year. Whoa, droid attack! They did a really fabulous one where they did a fake Iwata Asks article about how they, how they created for the Miiverse software, how they were going to detect drawings of penises, and it was just hysterical. Like, it's like, I think people figured out pretty quick that one was fake, but it was so authentic sounding because the Iwata Asks has such a distinctive style. But they've done, one of their targets now is the bigger personalities on YouTube, and they'll do fake interviews with them, and they're all like, yeah, I pretty much take everyone for all they're worth, and steal all their money or whatever. And then their fans will come in and they'll be all like, man, he donates to so many charities and he's such a nice guy, and he'd never say any of this stuff. Who is this? This interview is so obviously fake. Because they really do have dedicated followings. It's astounding what they've managed to do. It's like, wow. When I don't really begrudge them. I mean, it's not like it's what I'm trying to do, but it's like they're doing, like, the ones who are doing really well are doing really well. and we had a Jeff got in touch with the man from the Man Show.
Oh, okay.
And so I did PAX, right? And that did not register so much as it may have been like a blip on my sales, which were not good at the time. Like we're in PAX and people playing the game like the whole time. There was one guy who played. He just sat there and just kept on going, and it was eventually I was like, hey, we gotta move you along there, buddy. And he's like, whoa, how long have I been here? Like he was into it. And had a lot of lots of people liked it, but it's like you get home from PAX, what's the first thing you're going to do? It's not going to be spend more money.
Yeah.
It was like maybe a little blip on that weekend, and then the following weekend we did the interview with the Man Show, and he just played through the game while we chatted with him, and it was like, pow!
Yeah.
Like in 2 hours of this guy playing the game, we had made hundreds of dollars.
Yeah,
it's like, hooray! This is an effective use of time. This is the best 2 hours I ever spent. Wow. Can we do this all the time?
Yeah.
No, you can't.
Yeah. the YouTube is like hard to crack now.
Yeah.
To get in there. After we get back next year, actually, I got these HD camera or webcams, and I want to start doing video stuff because I think that's more engaging for people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you can, and also then I won't get all these freaking dings on my account for using video clips of video games. If you have enough of your face on there and only use like the little sections, then it's not as bad. But
well, do they have their face up like all the time sometimes when they're showing it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that enough to kind of disrupt the video? Say like, oh well, it's that guy's face and it's our game, so I guess it's okay? Or
like what do you mean?
Like on Twitch TV, it's like it's always got like a little dude's face on there, doing a little dance, but then they're showing the whole game behind them.
I don't know if that works because I don't have it set up like that. Yeah,
I don't. Yeah.
I have no idea how like software costs so much.
Yeah,
that it's like whenever I get like school refund, I'm like, oh, I can spring for like a camera or something, even though I know I'm not supposed to be using it for that. But it's like, what else are you gonna do with it?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
I'm always thinking, like, I want to make a video game blog, like, and not like a news blog or anything, but like literally a blog where like these are my thoughts for the day on video game.
See, and that's kind of what my
and like just kind of like go totally low key with it, but it's like I bet I get 6 people to read this thing.
See,
and then also, or people are like, what a jackass this guy is. Now that we know what he really thinks about all this stuff, like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's basically what our podcast is bullshitting about games. It's like, we talk about kind of what we played that week, which is normally, whatever, and then we'll just bullshit about either gadgets or. Mm-hmm. John was super excited about the watch, the Samsung watch, where you could make call or you can answer calls from it and talk. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "It's such a cool idea, but I don't know how it's going to work."
Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, that's exactly what he thought. He's like, "It's Inspector Gadget, except for I'm not sure how practical it is in the real world." But
well, do you remember the computer book?
Oh yeah.
Computer book, and it's like. It's been here for quite a while, and it doesn't look anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, what a terrible interface that book has. It's like, I think it was cool because it was a secret. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, she's just carrying around a book, not a sophisticated piece of technology. That
yeah, I guess so.
Full of Wikipedia before it existed.
Oh, God. Yeah,
and all the
amazing
hacking capability that book had. Oh, my gosh.
Everybody like bags on Wikipedia, but it's the best starting point you can find. Like, it's all cited, so you just want to check those sites to make sure, or the citing to make sure that those things are actually real, and then you can branch off and do it from there.
Ideally, you might find yourself at like a book that got published or something.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it. I mean, most of them are that. That's actually, I wrote a paper about the megalithic temples of Malta, and that was the way I did it. I started on Wikipedia. I'm like, well, what books are talking about this? And the ones that were cited were, and I was like, cool.
I guess it gets into some weird loops with like citations of online sources start to get kind of iffy.
Yeah.
But depending on the sources, I just browse Wikipedia for fun, so half the stuff I read there is fictional anyway. So it's like there's no. So it can go to an online source. And it's like, oh well, that makes sense. This seems like a real source for this thing.
Yeah. Either that or it's sourcing the Onion or something.
Whoops. Yeah. I'm my family's Facebook BS detector.
Oh,
I'm the guy I'm the first guy to Snopes like every time. Yeah. Like, okay, guys,
I have deleted people because I'm like, I don't even want to deal with you anymore. You just like my father is the guy that just doesn't let things go, and it's just like, no.
Oh, the Snopes checking, or that or the stuff that is not true he keeps reposting.
Well, either that or he'll like argue that why would they put it on there? You know, the government's controlling everything, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with you. It's crazy because he was never crazy until like literally a couple of years ago, and then he just went bonkers, and I'm like, okay, I can't deal with you anymore.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah,
older people. I feel like I'm worried that when I get to his age that I'm gonna all of a sudden flip crazy.
Oh man, I've got a funny PAX story. So I love Sonic the Hedgehog, right?
Yeah.
I'm excited to play Lost World, and I'm gonna give it. You know, it looks good, but also kind of some weird stuff going on. I don't know, but it's PAX, so I'm gonna go play it. Gonna check it out, and I play through the first level of it, and I'm moving around, and I'm kind of goofing off because I'm like, I want to test things.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be like, what happens if I do this? What happened? Like I died more than anyone that I saw playing the game. Like they just shot on through, and I'm like, I'll just fall off this cliff here. Like what happens if I try to run off like this? I want to try out all the weird surface interactions because that's like my favorite thing about Sonic is, and sadly why I don't really like it so much anymore. But
yeah,
that's beside the point. But I want to check out all these things, and and like this on the screen, it would keep saying things like it would indicate you should look. Like there was a little icon like, don't forget to look down at that touch screen.
Yeah.
And I look down at the touch screen, and it's like, oh, it's a map. But something just blipped off, or something like I just missed it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I look up at the top, and I'm playing again, and it's like, don't forget to look down. Oh, it's gone again.
Yeah.
And so then I went over to the rep guy, who's doing all the guiding, and I've got the controller, and he's and I'm like, it keeps telling me I should look at the screen. Is there something I'm not aware of there? And he goes, oh, I can't hear what he even says, and then he touches a point on the screen, and he's like, go ahead. And then I look up at the screen. Sonic has been transformed into a bomb, and he's rolling around the screen, and it's not well designed because some of the stuff that I roll into with the bomb makes the bomb bigger, and that's good. And then other stuff, like the same enemies, like here's one enemy that I can roll into, and here's an enemy where I hit that and rings come out of the bomb.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, this is what it's going to be like when I'm 80. All the time. I'll be just like wandering around confused, and someone will touch a button, and I'll be even more confused.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. PAX is a ton of fun. Ton of fun. Every time I've been there, and I'm like, next year I'm going to have to apply for media badges. I know I'm not that big, but I hope they approve it. Uh-huh. And that just means that it's going to be so much easier than this last year. I wanted to do so many videos, but without media passes, like, PR people are like, F off, dude.
You got to get the indie guys.
Yeah,
we'll talk to anyone.
That's exactly what I did, and I was just like, okay, I got to go to the smaller studios. And, I went to Cappy, I went to Undead Labs, because they're not super small, but they were still small enough to be willing to talk. And then I went and talked to. I went up to the floor that you guys were on. I can't remember the name.
Oh, I was in the main. I was in the exhibition hall, the big one.
Oh.
Yeah, that's where the indie mega booth was. And
that's right. The mega
booth was there was indie stuff upstairs though.
Yeah,
I was
surprised
to see so much there, and that's where Cartoon Network was with all their Adult Swim stuff.
Yep.
The Volgar guys actually came downstairs, and they're all like, "We're not getting any traffic up there. It's real lonely. This is way better."
It's because they didn't say anything.
Then later on, people started when I went up there, it's like, "Oh, there's lots of people up here," but that was later in the show. So
I went up there and we talked to the people that did the Oculus Rift. They had like wireless controllers for like your hands, so you could walk and stuff like that.
So you could walk off with all their equipment.
Well, actually, they had this big platform you like strapped yourself into. They didn't let people into it, but they had a guy playing it, and you like literally run on the platform.
Oh my!
And depending on how fast you run, depends on how fast you move in the screen, and then you can like crouch and all sorts of stuff, and it does all that. It reacts to you. I'm like, that is freaking cool. But
did you get to try it out?
No, they weren't. So
you didn't take the pink eye risk.
No.
Did you hear about this?
No. Okay. So I did play. I did mess with the Oculus Rift, which is kind of a weird thing but I didn't get to run on the platform.
Oh, okay.
Because they had like
a huge line.
Well, no, they were like, we can't have people run on this if somebody slips and falls.
Yeah.
We don't have insurance to cover this essentially if you break your face. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. But the Rift is weird, man. I didn't play the high res version, but you take it off and you have to, your brain's like, wait, we gotta reorientate for a second, because it's just weird. But
what did you play on it? Did you do the game?
It was just a tech demo.
Oh, okay.
Of
stuff coming at you.
Well, it was actually throwing stuff, like picking up and throwing stuff, and like looking around corners and stuff like that. But it wasn't like any of the games, because that line was forever. The one downstairs, I was like, nope, not gonna stand there for that long.
I was gonna get it. I was gonna play Loco Cycle at PAX because I was excited about it, and
it's okay.
Yeah, that's what I hear. And anyway, there's all these people are playing it. They've got all these stations, and I just kind of walked up to a guy, and I'm all like, "Hey, I'd like to play Loco Cycle. How do I do that?" He's all like, "Go way over there," and I'm like, "Oh, there's a line. You hit it very well.
Yeah,
you made it look like this was an attainable thing," and I'm like, "There'll be a demo."
Yeah, well, PAX is a line game. Yeah. So what we typically do is we get somebody in line, and then everybody runs out to get swag, and then those two people come back, and then the other two people get out of line and go. You tell them where to go, and then they go get their swag, and everybody comes back. And by the time you get back there,
it's the end of the day.
Well, I mean, but actually,
at the end, and then you play Titanfall and go home.
Last year was terrible. Every demo was 15 minutes.
Oh.
And I was like, what is going on? 15 minutes is so long when you have 4 screens and there's a billion people behind you,
Yeah. What the games I played, I think they were all in the Wii area, actually. Or the Nintendo section. We were super courteous, right? So a friend and I got in line. We're going to play Shovel Knight for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're both already, we backed it on Kickstarter, so we're going to get it anyway, and we're just like... Yeah. And then you can watch people play through the demo, and it's like, why would I play it why would any of these people stand in line to play this game when they're going to do exactly what the guy before them did?
Yeah.
And it's like, and you can see it right there, but we did it anyway because we were in line, and we're like, well, let's do it. And so instead of having me play, and then him play, we just traded off the controller.
Yeah.
Because we're all like, this, and that was fun too, because it's like, I'm going to do it, and it's like, oh, here, you do it. And, kind of trading off like that was fun. And then he stood in line for an hour to play Bayonetta 2. Because he's a Bayonetta guy. He really liked the first one.
My buddy loves it, and I was like, eh.
Yeah, that was kind of my feeling.
Yeah.
But so, he got in line for Bayonetta 2, and then I just, hopped in with him, and then he's, and he got up to the line, and, he played it for, 5 minutes. It's a long demo.
Yeah.
People were playing, they had all these stations. He plays it for about 5 minutes, and then he dies, and he's like, nope, I'm satisfied. I'll be getting this game. And the lady's like, you don't want to play anymore? I'm like, no, I'm good. And he's like, do you want to play it? And I'm like, no, I was just here to root him on. Well, take some shirts or something. Jeez, guys. And we're like, oh, okay.
A couple of years ago, they had Batman, or no, they had Gotham Imposters there.
Oh,
geez. Did you ever hear that?
I know what it is.
Yeah. And it was awesome. They were like, come back, get a raffle ticket, and you can come back and you can play against the developers. And if you last 10 minutes, you're entered to win a custom Xbox. We had them painted. One of them had Joker, one of them had Batman, and you know, and they're like, oh, and you get like some accessories with it or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's fucking awesome. So we played, and we didn't even last nobody lasted past 5 minutes with them. And they're like, anybody who beats past 5 minutes, this is like halfway through, will be entered to win. Nobody made it past 5 minutes, so they just said everybody with a raffle ticket is entered. We'll call numbers. It was so sad because my brother was so excited. He got his number called.
Well, it's like no one's going to beat the developers. That's crazy.
Yeah, right? And,
I mean, not in that kind of time environment. Like, you got...
They know this level by heart, and they know every little attack, and it's your first encounter with the game. But my brother gets his number called, and he's like, yeah! And then they're like, man, he's excited for a T-shirt, because we didn't hear what they were giving away, because we were so far back. And he's like, oh. And at least it was like a special edition T-shirt. It was one of the ones that the developers were wearing. And he's like, at least I didn't get the same one that I got for playing the game in the first place. It was like,
doubles.
Yeah. Dude, oh man. So that's another thing. People are really weird. To get people engaged in conversation or whatever online is just an impossibility. I was giving away free stuff. I was just like, hey, view my YouTube video of the interview with Cappy and tell me one thing that happened in it, and
you'll get something,
and you'll get a free PAX T-shirt.
Right.
It depended.
Yeah.
It was like, I have tons of them, so I'll list off what I have in your size, and you can get it. So like, Assassin's Creed, Metal Gear, I had or poster. I had like Rise and Aliens vs Predators, which was whatever, that game wasn't that good. But anyway, but you'll get like 2 entries, and it's like, that's disappointing since like 30 people looked at this thing like, why the hell is there only 2 people, or or you get more than that sometimes, and it's just like, okay, well, you two, I'm just gonna make you guys win because at least you freaking watched it. And it's like, even when I tried to, when Gears of War Judgment came out, I know it's not the best Gears of War game, but it was still $60, and I got one from working, being a vendor, or being a contractor, and I was like, hell yeah, I'll just give this thing away. I don't really want it, and I'm not really into Gears of War. $60 game. I'm like, hey, read this article and tell me one thing about it, that you liked. And I got like 2 people, and then I asked him, like, hey, where do you want me to send this Gears? And he's like, I don't really want Gears. You got anything else? I'm like, well, that was the fucking competition. I'm like, well, I do have Forza Horizon. And he's like, okay, I'll take that. I was like, what? I was like, damn it. I was like, I'm not going to give it. And then I gave away free PAX tickets because that guy backed out.
Oh, nice.
And I said, what was the thing? Like, tell me what this blown up image is. It was like a little piece of a picture of a video game. It was Assassin's Creed Black Flag, but I just took like the little piece of his little gun and blew it up huge, so it's like hard to tell what the hell it is. Anyway, I was like, tell me what this is, and you get a free day pass, and I got like 50 people who entered, and then when I tried to give them to them, they're like, yeah, I'm not that interested anymore. I'm like, these are like $50, man.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
What?
Or nobody would respond. I did 2 of them, and the first one people responded to, and then most of them didn't want them. So I had like 6 extra passes. And I'm like, what am I going to do with these things? So I was like, I'll just do another competition. I did it, and nobody answered. I was like, who doesn't want free freaking tickets?
And you're getting views, right? People are actually
yeah,
watching
I'm getting
these things.
I got my Google Analytics up, and I'm like, I have 100 people or 150 people viewing this article. What the hell is going on? And yeah, I'm just like, whatever, I guess. I tried to sell them. Nobody would buy them. I really wished I had sold them when they were on eBay. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to wait until I physically had them before selling them. But I was like, damn it, I should have sold them when everybody had them on eBay. They were selling for like $100 a piece. I had to sell them at face value. And even then, I didn't sell all of them.
Oh, wow.
I started giving them away on the street. I was like, hey, you want to go to PAX? Because there was like people buying tickets from the scalpers. I'm like, hey, you want a free pass? Scalper's like going to kill me. I'm like, here you go. He's like, thanks, man.
Woohoo!
I'm like,
don't sell that to a scalper on your way out.
well, they don't pay shit for them.
They don't?
I had to sell 2 of mine because I couldn't give them away.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's like, I already got my passes,
Yeah.
So I went to sell them to the scalper, and he's like, I'll pay you $10 a piece. And I was like, fuck that, dude. And he's like, well, I can pay you 15 then, at the most. And I'm like, 25. And he's like, I'm selling them for 30. And I'm like, well, then you're making $5. And he's like, how about 22? And I was like, fine. At least it's something. I'll make some fucking money off this. And they're $35 a piece.
I'd be like, I'm like, it's worth it to not give it to the scalper.
Yeah.
Like, it's worth it to just
I
stick it to that guy.
I tried. I was like, dude, man, I should have sold them while I had them on eBay. I tried to even give them away in CGI, but they were like, but everybody's like, I already got my passes, or I can't.
That's
go
the amazing
anymore.
thing is that they all already got their passes somehow. Like,
It sold out in minutes.
Yeah,
and
somehow people got tickets. Like, I got tickets because I was there, like, at my computer, and then, like, someone was like, hey, PAX is on. I'm like, and then, like, friends at Microsoft, they're all like, okay, well, no one's getting any work done today,
Yeah.
They all just flop on the computer. And then some of them even cheated the system, because there was, of course, a way to game the system this year.
I don't know how, but my buddy... so I was on 5 minutes after it released, or after they said it, and it put me in the queue.
Yeah.
And I waited for 2 hours. Well, I had it on for 2 hours, but I called my buddy, like, at the same time, and he's like, dude, I'm not going to be able to get home until, like, a half an hour. If the thing is closed, can you buy me some tickets? And I said, yeah, no problem. And then he got home and logged on, and he was immediately in. He's like, how many tickets? He calls me, how many tickets do you want? And I'm like, are you already in? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm already in. And
oh, my God.
I'm like, this is bull. And so...
Yeah.
So... It took me 2 hours to get in. He got in 5 times before I was even in. He bought tickets, he called people, and then just logged back in.
Wow. Yeah. Well, apparently once you get in once, this is what happened to my friend, is that he went in, and he bought his tickets, and then he hit refresh, and then he bought 2 more.
Yeah.
Refresh, or 4 more. He bought like 4 sets of 4.
Yeah.
And he's, well, just let me do it.
Yeah.
And then he actually got mailed about it by PAX. Like, they're all like, like, this was like months later or something. And he saw, like, I'm the head of my department at Microsoft, I bought them for my team.
Oh, okay.
Which was more or less true. So.
Well, they get in free for the dev thing.
Oh, he's not a developer.
Well, I mean, even so.
Oh, well.
If you're just an employee there, you can say, hey, I'd like to go to Dev Days, and they get them tickets.
PAX Dev Days is... Oh, yeah.
It's like the 2 days before or something like that.
Huh.
It's weird.
Yeah, I ended up getting Sunday and Monday passes for me and my wife, and then I had... and then the Mega Booth was like, you're scheduled for Friday, Saturday, and I'm like... Yes!
The 2 I didn't get.
Yeah. The 2 that I won't be able to participate in anyway because I will be at that booth.
Yeah.
Slowly dying of starvation.
I know. I always feel bad for the smaller guys because it's like...
It was cool. They actually had people to kind of watch your spot if you needed to go run out. And, and one day they brought sandwiches for everybody, which was way cool.
The thing that sucks around there is there's no restaurants really that are friendly to carry away.
Well, I guess that's true. I was going to say, they got the subway down there, but it's in the building.
Yeah, and it's but always so packed.
Wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're supposed to expand the Washington.
I had a great experience at SoccerCon this year.
Yeah.
Where I went to.